Hey, welcome everybody to Clarksburg Select Board meeting of June 28, 2023. It's 1 p.m. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chef was unable to make it today. He had an issue come up, so we'll move on. Any minutes from the previous meeting? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got these ones here. Rochelle emailed them over to us yesterday.
I looked at all those and saw they looked good to me. Did you find anything?
No, I didn't see anything.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of May 3rd, 23.
Second.
All in favor?
Hey. We
Okay.
probably just need to get a signature from Jeff on this one.
Okay, and Andrew's coming right in. We're meeting with Andrew Evans today from the RCAP. And Carl will take him here. Hi, Andrew. Oh, that's fine.
We do septic evaluations and wellhead evaluations.
All right, well, you're up, so
So Andy, this is our chairman of the board, Bob Norcross. We do have
nice to meet you.
an absentee selectman had an issue that we had to deal with, and this is Dan Haskins. Andy Evans is a consultant from Rural Communities Assistance Program.
He's already got me pegged.
Yeah, great, thank you.
And so they are funded through the government to provide rural communities with consultancy for water and sewer projects, free of charge.
Great.
So Andy has been working diligently with the Briggsville Water District. And so I asked him if, in addition to that, if there would be an opportunity to assist us with sewer line and water line repairs in the southwestern quadrant of the town.
Yep.
And he would like to, they would like to. So basically, we'll let you talk, and then we can take a vote and go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, so Carl essentially let me know that you've done some studies here in town. You've got an intermunicipal agreement with the city of North Adams for your sewer. It seems as though you might have some leaks out there, maybe a mile or so worth of concern, let's say, with your wastewater system. So nothing that we at RCAP can't handle. In fact, it's more my bread and butter, I guess, than a water system, shall we say. So when Carl mentioned the problem, I was more than happy to jump on board, and just so happened my boss said we had a little extra room, so here I am. Typically a project is about 100 hours worth of service.
Okay.
Currently for Briggsville Water District, I have 300 hours devoted. It gives you an idea of how these things can kind of snowball from one thing to the next, but hopefully the wastewater situation is a little bit more of a straight line. Not always the case, right? So essentially I got lots of paperwork to go through as far as the engineering reports that have been provided so far. I have your bylaws, your regulations, they all seem pretty adequate. But the intermunicipal agreement I haven't seen yet. I think you just recently ratified a new agreement, is that correct?
Yes, we have a new sewer agreement with the city of North Adams, and I can shoot you out a copy after
Great.
the meeting.
And it looked like some of this reporting had been done, or study I should say, about 2 or 3 years ago, is that correct? Last time you looked at it real close?
Yeah, the DPC was done, I believe, in 21 or 2021, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have anything else done as far as, once they gave you the report, the recommendations, did you proceed with an O&M or the GIS?
We have an O&M plan,
Okay,
operation and maintenance.
I'd love to see that too.
I have that right on my desk upstairs, as a matter of fact. So we have that, and then going to town meeting, we did allocate, I believe it's $57,000 for repairs and engineering for sewer upgrades mandated by the Department of Environmental Protection. So we also have an ACO,
Yeah.
Administrative Consent Order, to reduce I&I, inflow and infiltration. So basically, we have, a section of town, 60% of our sewer is in good condition, but that means 40% is not. So an I&I is when there's heavy rain, not that there's been much lately, it seeps into the sewer and ends up at the sewer plant, and then they have to treat clean water. And in addition to that, clean water degrades the decomposition process so that drives up the cost at the sewer plant. So the goal is to reduce our I&I as much as humanly possible, and replace the lines where need be, and to upgrade the manholes as outlined in those plans. So that's it, pretty much.
That's ultimately, by and large, a summary of what I would include in a work plan for you guys. So, assuming you're comfortable with it, Carl's already familiar with the process. It's really simple to start working with RCAP. It's essentially just a piece of paper I've already mocked up. That again gives you 100 hours of service towards this project. I generally word it pretty open, right? So that I can work on a few different things if need be within that 100 hours. So in this case, I put down determination of funding eligibility requirements, assisting with funding applications, and then technical assistance related to the wastewater collection system. Because of course you'll want to know how to gauge this as you proceed, how to actually manage these engineering reports, how to deal with these studies, something I'm pretty well versed in. So that's by and large what I'd be looking at doing for you guys, unless there's more to the story that I'm unaware of. The ACO is something I haven't seen yet either, Carl.
Yeah.
I'd have to see that as well. But
Yep, got that too.
if it's a lot to do, and have you done the CCV camera work yet? Essentially camera.
I think so, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
So do you go out and inspect the lines yourself and see where the weak points are?
I wish. And if that was the case, I'd have to give you 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
I really do wish we had more ability to do that, much like Mass Water, for example. They'll go out doing line, looking for your water lines, for example, things like that. I can lean on reports given to me and evaluate them. So unfortunately, that typically means you still have to hire engineers to do a lot of the nitty-gritty work, but I can help you manage what they mean, where you can focus your efforts and make that buck go as far as you can, and make the effort, as Carl knows, getting grants. There's a lot of effort involved. You want to make sure that you're approaching it the right way.
Excellent.
20% is no small thing, especially if it's Orangeburg, especially if it's clay. These things can't be relined. There's a lot of sagging points. You can't reline those areas either. You can't compensate for the elevation really. So that means is you have to dig. It's expensive, and that sort of thing. It looked like the manholes were pretty good by and large from the report.
I think we have 198 manholes, and I think that they said 18 to 20
Yeah, so
are needing
to your
attention.
point, the CCTV camera footage, if you haven't done so, be one of the first things I'd recommend doing. Then I'd look at that footage and probably 20 hours right there of watching. Hopefully the contractor can supply a summary report along the way. Cuts down on my time significantly. Depending on the contractor, sometimes they do a great job with that, sometimes not so much. But whatever the case, I do find CCTV camera to be very useful in that process. Sounds like you've already got an idea where these locations are, so focusing on those areas especially will be helpful.
So you said that you could help in writing grants, because I know the Mass Work grants, there's now one for rural development.
Yes.
We would need help, of course, writing that grant. Is that part of what you could do?
Any and all.
Any and all, 'cause
Any and all, yeah. As Carl knows, it's generally more than just one out
Okay.
there. And depending on what the project costs, one might fit better than others. So Rural Small Town Development Fund is a great one, especially for matching funds, because it gives up to $500,000. USDA is nice because they'll support projects over $750,000. You know, which obviously brings up concerns about rates and that sort of thing. You can imagine this might cost some money. Has anybody looked into these projected costs and how they might?
Right now, we're trying to digest, the new contract with North Adams.
Okay.
And so we are using some of the reserves of the sewer enterprise to initiate the project, and then we're going to probably have to rely heavily on grants. And we might need to segment it and be a multi-year project versus all at once type of thing.
Yep.
But I'm not sure. I mean, it's going to depend on recommendations and findings.
Yeah, from my experience, getting started obviously was a 2017 mandate, right? You guys have done that.
Yep.
You got your reports, and you're starting to manage it, right? And that's really ultimately what everyone wants to see, especially these smaller communities, what's called a satellite system. Just keep chipping away at it. Best way you see fit, let's say, while still accomplishing the goal down the road. So manholes are a great way to cut down I&I. Enforcement of your already existing regulations. If you haven't looked into roof gutters in a while, that could be a huge source of your I&I. And you just simply go and enforce things. That doesn't cost you well, it costs you a little bit in administrative cost, but it's not infrastructure. It's not digging up the ground. Sump pumps are another one.
I was gonna say, we worry about sump pumps because there's
You
not
should.
a way to regulate that. And we just ask people not to do it, but obviously it's illegal.
Yeah.
And, I mean.
Subject to a $500 a day fine.
Well, and you think of just this last couple of weeks, people are having their sump pumps in the basement, putting them into the sewer system. That costs the town a lot of money, or the
Yeah.
sewer rates, so.
I've worked with several towns that significantly reduced their I&I just by getting really focused in on those roof leaders, the French drains, sump pumps, all that, and didn't necessarily go over well. But when you explain it to people that, hey, it's either this or your bills are going to go up because of this other problem, or both, right? So it's a handshake, it really is. But it shouldn't be as hard here as it is other places that are even tighter in terms of their urban congestion, okay? Sometimes there is no place to put that water, and it is difficult. Those conversations are hard.
Okay.
So you're getting into the weeds a little bit, but, rates, income surveys, that sort of thing are also things. GIS is another one that we can help with. If you give me access to the data files, it looks like a lot of GIS has been done. We can help with that as well. These are sort of like add-on items that maybe down the road we could also get another agreement toward, if need be.
Okay, so you'd work close with Carl and Kyle if necessary, whatever.
Absolutely.
To make sure we follow your advice and get things you need.
I think this is great. I think this will be very helpful, trying to get some of this stuff.
Yeah, we know the landscape of it, and like I said, we've done this in other towns, managing this conundrum, if you will.
Yeah, it is.
It is difficult, especially for satellite systems that are just like, hey, we're basically a billing network here, we just send it over here, and they deal with it. Other states don't manage it this way. They utilize the wastewater system to essentially manage the collection system, which I think is a lot more effective. They didn't do that despite our best efforts at RCAP. They've divvied it out to the municipalities, which again, you guys have some experience with water systems, with stormwater, but wastewater is a little bit different beast. And then all of a sudden you do a report and then it snowballs into something else. And here we are. So, but the idea is an apt one, or it's a good one, because you do need to save that wastewater plant from taking on all that I&I. They're not designed to do it, and if they were to design it for that, they'd have to be even bigger than they already are and more expensive.
Absolutely.
So, as an operator, I can totally get it, and it needs to be done, but unfortunately it does cost quite a bit.
Okay, so we'll take a vote to approve RCAP as a consultant for us for the sewer system. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Welcome
thank
aboard.
you. Yeah, thank you very much, and
Yeah, some great
Please
information.
keep in touch, and if you need anything, let us know, because we will.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's kind of ends up being by default is almost like a project coordinator, if you will. I wouldn't call myself a manager, but I try to keep things in line so that things actually get done, right? We
Yes.
work on manholes, then work on this line, then work on that. So ultimately what that comes down to is A, trying to figure out what your goal is, what your timeline is, that you want to see things done, you know, a list of benchmarks, if you will. That's helpful to me, so that I don't get ahead of myself, so that everything's more as realistic as possible, and then we can work around it, you know?
Yeah, and with
How's
that,
it really gonna shift in time, that sort of thing.
sure, and with that, any advice you can give,
Yeah.
like I say, if you need something or more of a timeline, whatever we can give you,
Yeah.
we will, because we certainly have a mess down there. And like Eagle Street, for instance, North Eagle
North
Street,
Eagle is,
we
yeah.
would love to repave it, but we're not going to repave it, and then a year later dig up lines for the sewer.
Understood.
So there's definitely a lot of issues out there, but we look forward to your guidance for sure.
You're not the only ones out there, I'm afraid, that have wastewater infrastructure needs, that go far beyond what your budget could ever support, you know?
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. But I do think that CCTV will be money well spent. It is a significant amount of money, but it will help myself and whoever you're working with for an engineer. I don't know if you have one already contracted, no. But you have $57,000 set aside? Okay. So I think that's probably step number one, to figure out how we're gonna spend this $57,000 to make it go as far as it possibly can. And that probably includes, number one, doing your CCTV in the locations that we need to get most effective use out of. That's already delineated in this report, so that's good. We gotta start there. And hiring, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but an engineer, by and large, get them on contract to help
Yes.
us managing this. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
and there's, plenty of engineers, Tide and Bond, DPC, the whole
Foresight, right, they would do that.
Foresight. I don't know if Foresight is in sewer.
Okay.
I could be wrong, because there are a lot of things, but,
I think the most beneficial thing an engineer can help us do, especially once the evaluation is entirely complete, is figure out, obviously, A, where is it coming from, but B, is there practices that we can utilize that are non-invasive, such as relining, and explore those sources and opportunities first, and then go with, your traditional dig up and replace, especially with respect to your paving sections too. That's not something that's, again, we deal with this in a lot of communities. They're doing the same exact thing. We've been passing this road for 5 years, knowing full well this was coming, so could you help us, so. Paving projects, stormwater projects, wastewater projects, they all sort of come together. And evaluating the system is absolutely important. If you got AC pipe that lasts 100 years down there, go ahead and pave it.
Yeah.
If it's already PVC, go ahead and pave it. It's not blistered and sagging and everything else. So, do you have complaints in the town? Do you have people that get backups in the sewer in their basements and that sort of thing? That's good.
no.
That's good. So it's
But
not.
we're on a hill, and it flows downhill.
It does, but if you've got pinch points, if you've got Orangeburg in particular,
That-
a lot of times
and-
we run into that.
We have a suspicion, especially like on North Eagle, and I think that's the oldest section in town, and that's why we haven't paved it, is because we know what's coming.
Yeah.
I believe there's a combination of PVC, cast iron, clay, and we suspect there might be sections of Orangeburg, hopefully not. For the audience, Orangeburg is basically glorified cardboard with tar on it.
It's tar paper pipe.
Yeah.
It was used after World War II because there was very little steel, or at least the steel that was around, utilized for the war. So that's unfortunately, and probably a satellite system, hey, that's over the border, give them this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
At the time, you just didn't know what was getting put in the ground. I will say that Orangeburg is far less prevalent now, replacement-wise, has been going on for some time, so it's rare that I see it in municipal settings. Not something I haven't ever seen, but it is pretty uncommon.
Hopefully we don't have any.
Hopefully it's so uncommon it's not here.
We hope not, but we're not sure.
Yeah,
you know, so.
we're gonna find that out, and certainly that would be on the list of top priority to replace, especially if it's downstream section, taking out a lot of that flow at the pinch point. There's a lot of drag associated with the Orangeburg pipe because it's so blistered
Yeah.
and crumbling apart, so. Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
we appreciate it, we appreciate you coming,
Yeah, thank you for the information.
and appreciate, look forward to working with you.
I'll send this agreement over to Carl. I suspect Carl would be the main point person, but of course you guys
Yes.
are welcome to sign it. Usually it's a community signatory. It can honestly be anybody. We don't care in our cap. But you'll see, it's very loosely worded. There's a small legal blurb at the top, but I will say that at any point you say, we don't want you here anymore, I won't be here anymore. This isn't some binding thing where I don't want to be here for 100 hours now.
Okay.
If you don't think it's productive or whatever, don't even have to give me a reason. Just stop it there. I've got other things to do, so.
I'm sure we will want the 100 hours.
Plus some.
Make use of every bit of it.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, I think in short term, Carl, we'll get to work on this
Okay.
short-term plan and.
So I'm going to send you out the new sewer agreement we have at North Adams.
Yep, the sewer agreement
O&M.
with DCO.
I'll get you the O&M. Do you need anything else immediately?
You know, go back through your records. If you have any CCTV,
Okay.
even if it's 5 years old, it's useful.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, at least we'll know what's there.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's not like fine wine, it doesn't get better with age anyway, so
Yeah.
that would be but I will see if we've got anything.
Hydrographs are a great start, and the asset inventory you guys did is another excellent start. The spreadsheet that I have, again, there were manholes they couldn't open, that was
Yeah.
another priority. So you're in better shape than some, trust me on that.
Oh, that's
They
good to
haven't
hear.
even done that yet, so that's a great start, it really is. And again, I do see that by and large, the regulatory bodies out there understand that this is a work in progress for everyone. It's not going to get fixed overnight. You're not going to have a tight system in a year, okay? These things, you kind of have to chip away, investigate, and go from there, much like lead service line inventory and all these other fun things that we have to do.
Yeah, and even getting the grants, it's always like a 2-year process, you know?
I told Carl when I first started working with him on the water system, I said the 3 to 5 year projection, is what we typically see for large scale infrastructure projects like wastewater and water systems. I mean, it's sad to say, but it really is lightning speed if you can get something completed in 2 years.
Yeah.
And in this case, I would call completed getting yourself to that 40% replacement. I mean, 5 years might not even be it. It'd be like a 7 or 10,
Sure.
right? Capital improvement plan. So,
Like I say, the key is to get started and to chip away at
yeah.
it.
And I think that's something else you should be cognizant of as I've developed this, that a lot of these inputs can be placed into a capital improvement plan, and it can be dedicated to your sewer system, and it can be tailored to the rates and that sort of thing. I think that's really something that should be a goal of ours, that
Yeah, definitely.
I'm building in these benchmarks, and those should also influence something like a capital improvement plan going forward. You guys don't have a sewer board, obviously. I'd be meeting
The
with
select
them.
board is acting as the sewer commissioner.
There it is. So, lucky you get to learn about sewer. But here we are, and we're gonna learn and hopefully accomplish some things.
Excellent.
Okay,
Sound good? I won't take up any more of your time. I'm sure you have other matters.
we do, but thank you. Appreciate
Thank you so
it.
very much, Andy.
No problem. I'll send the agreement over to you, Carl. If you have
Yes.
any concerns with it, let me know, and
Will
I'll
do.
edit it.
And I'll get you the stuff you need, and
Yep.
maybe we can meet, if not next week, then the week after.
Absolutely.
And,
Got a vacation coming up from July 6th and the following week, but
okay,
late July looks pretty decent.
okay,
Yep.
fair enough.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, next on the agenda is to appoint Cleve Scott to a 3-year term on the Conservation Commission. I will make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the COA would like to appoint, they nominated Mary Rose Callahan, would like to appoint her to the board. I will have to abstain from that because my wife's on up there at the senior center.
So I talked to Marilyn, and I got you an email, but I didn't get you one, but I'll send it after the meeting.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so we have a quorum.
Yep.
His vote is abstaining, so it's solely on you, and it is a binding vote. So if you say yay, it's yay.
Okay.
And I'd like to appoint her to a 3-year term. It doesn't, oh, it does say that here, I'm sorry. So appoint her to a 3-year term.
Yep, I'm good with that.
So you need to make the motion, and you
Okay, I'll
need
make a
to,
motion
and
to
second, and all that.
appoint Mary Rose Kellen to the COA board, and I will motion approved.
And you're an abstention.
And I abstain.
Okay. We're good.
Okay, and now, next is appoint Jim Capola as a local tax attorney, and Carl, you may want to just,
Yeah, so, we did appoint KP Law as our municipal legal counsel. And, we have the auction going off on the Millard Avenue property coming up. And in so doing, it became pretty obvious that, paying the travel and the rate to bring in an attorney from Boston for really a local issue. So for a local tax title, tax takings, I met with Kelly and we chatted, and so she also did some discovery also as to, what other communities were doing and who they were using and their experience level. And so this is what we've come up with. So then that would actually reduce our costs, because we do have a number of properties that need to go into tax title. And, it's nothing that anybody enjoys. I certainly don't relish the idea. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to the taxpayers also.
right,
So this is basically appointing an attorney for local tax issues only.
right.
When it comes to issues of municipal law, we'll still be using KP Law, so it's not going to
Exactly,
supplant
it's just to
them.
cut down on the cost, because like you say, if they have to come out, we have to pay their travel time and
Exactly.
everything
Yeah.
else too,
Yep.
so.
That makes total
It'll
sense.
be
It has
pretty
to be
local, simple things. Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Jim Capola as our local tax attorney.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is website updates.
Okay, so I drafted up 2 pages of updating the information and adding to it, which actually is up on my desk. So we have started, like for instance with the Massachusetts delegation, to update that, and so I'm going to be sending updates every week to, so it's not all at once.
Yeah.
And there's things that, need to be uploaded and things of that nature. So we are underway, and the first set have been done. So I will keep you posted on that, and I will send you a list of the updates that I've proposed.
Okay,
Excellent.
that sounds good. I did want to add though with the website, I did send an email to Jason asking if the 225th anniversary date, September 9th, could be up on the front page or whatever, and he suggests they can do something like that, but I think he may be waiting for us to tell him to go ahead.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure if we want to have a button there on the front page so people see that we're having an anniversary party.
Yeah.
And then maybe you click that button, it goes to a link which would say everything that's going on. I'm not sure exactly what we want yet, but we definitely, we're meeting, the anniversary committee's meeting July 12th. So we can discuss it there, or if anybody has any ideas on what would work.
I think that'd look good if it was kind of like a banner ad across the top, click here for more information, click that block,
Yeah.
and it goes to the page and it kind of explains what's going on, why we're celebrating, and what's gonna go on at the,
Yeah,
I
I think that'd be the way to go.
yeah, absolutely.
So-
I agree with you.
So Carl, I didn't know, because, again, I don't want you doing one thing, me doing another thing, or whatever. I'm not sure if you want me to talk to Jason directly, or do you want me to go through you and you tell Jason, or?
I think we can work on it together.
Okay.
Let me send you the list of the proposed changes, and then we can put our heads together for this component here,
Yeah.
basically festivities or whatever you want to call it, and get some, back and forth and feed. and then send it off to Jason. I'm
Okay.
fine with you working with me on it.
Okay, that sounds good.
Absolutely.
And also in July, we were gonna start putting the minutes, of the meetings on, so we're all set with that too. Okay. Next on the list is discuss the agricultural commission.
Well, we don't have anybody here from the Agricultural Commission, so I guess I'd like to postpone that until,
We'll put on the,
So Martha did reach out, so she can't make it during the day for a meeting. So she said she could possibly Zoom in, I don't know really how well that would work, or whether we schedule a special meeting trying to, with this, after, 4:30 one day, I'm not sure exactly what's gonna be the best answer. I wanna talk to you guys
Okay.
about it and see what's gonna,
yeah, if we know what time's, good with her, like what time she gets out of work, if she come right there.
I think she says she's out by 4 o'clock, so
So
whether
like
it's 4:30 or 5 o'clock, if we have
Yeah,
a,
noon.
yeah, we can do
I
that.
would suggest we do that.
yeah, whether it's a special joint meeting or, well, I guess we say appoint someone to it, I guess.
We
so
do,
it's really not
yeah, and there's certain rules we're gonna have to follow and, things too, to form a commission, so we'll,
Yeah, and I'd like to also, or if you have a perchance, if she has an idea of other members, and I think she does, I think the lady from Many Forks Farm has expressed an interest, or,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be speaking out of turn, clearly. But if she has other interested parties, maybe they could submit a letter of interest, and then we could go over that and form a committee to determine the scope and the purpose. That's where I'm hoping to go.
okay.
And then we'll set a meeting and we can meet at 4:30 or 4 or whatever works.
Yeah, and Dan, would you, you're in contact with her? Whatever.
Yeah, she did
So
send me a
if you
message,
would-
so,
Excellent.
If you'd take care of that, we'd appreciate it.
so you want, so anyone that's interested to, just say send a letter of interest?
Yeah, just, and it doesn't have to be any, I would be interested
be a
in
couple
serving on the
sentences.
Agricultural Commission.
Yep.
And, I mean, if they want to expound upon it, that's fine, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to write a novel.
Right.
Okay. You got, maybe those members can maybe come for that special meeting so they can
Yeah.
submit their interest and we can
Get it up,
achieve
get
a
it
little,
launched.
yeah.
Yeah,
achieve
we'd
a
like to
little
get
more
that
of
off the ground.
Excellent.
Sounds
I'll reach
good.
out to her. And what do you think?
I'm thinking that our next meeting is July 12th, the second, because today's the 28th,
Yeah,
so the second Wednesday in July is the 12th. So I'll have it on the schedule for the 12th, and do you want to move the meeting to 4:30?
So I know we're trying to keep more consistent,
we are, but,
whether we do move this,
Well, we've got the holiday next week, so next week is like a,
yeah.
no, absolutely, yeah, next week's tough. I
And,
agree.
and I think we did say when we even discussed it, if there was issues
Yeah.
that came up where we felt people that wanted to work needed to be here,
Yeah.
that would change meeting, but we do want to try to be consistent. But I think this is, in my opinion, it's a good reason to
Yeah.
have a
Move it.
meeting at 4 o'clock or 4:30, whenever
Okay.
she's available.
Well, I'll confirm with her whether,
she's able to make
maybe at
it.
4:30 or.
I mean, hypothetically, she could be on vacation too, and they
Right.
might have to wait for the next meeting.
Yeah,
And we'll bend to their needs.
Yeah,
sounds good.
all right, thanks,
I'll,
Dan.
I'll touch base.
All right. Meeting with Director of Rural Affairs,
The yesterday meeting?
that was yesterday meeting? Okay, and then the next one also is testimony of a joint meeting of revenue. I had a trip to Springfield, so we'll just take all that and with one.
Put it all together.
Yeah, put it all together. I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure that Dan, you and Jeff knew what was going on. I was able to get a meeting together. Lauren and I went down to Springfield to the governor's office of the Western Massachusetts, and we talked with Kirsten Alecko and Lamar Cook, who was the director and assistant director down there. And they were very appreciative of us coming down, and they've, this is, I'll give you a copy of that. That's an updated list, and Carl, I'll give you one too. It's an updated list of school projects on both sides.
Great, thank you.
Because we thought of a couple of things that we could add. But it's funny, reading the list, sometimes you don't know exactly what's going on. She allowed us and encouraged us to make sure she understood what was going on. So I explained, went all the way back to the school vote and how it really divided the town and how the town's portion of that was going to be over $6 million and there's 730 households or whatever,
Yeah.
that there was no way that the town felt they could afford that. And she was very sympathetic to that, but I told her that what happened in that time, there wasn't any renovations done to the school because they thought they might get a new school. So of course it was running down. So we're to a point where, okay, now we got to renovate the school. It was like, what are we going to do? We got a renovation committee together, and there was great people that volunteered, and that is a list of things we did. But also at the top, we invited Senator Hines to a meeting at the school, and he sent AJ, his assistant, and he took a tour of the school, and he went back to Adam Hines and said the school is sound and that they need the money for the new roof and that they got a group together that's going to work hard on this.
Yeah.
So Adam Hines 5 years ago put that into the capital budget, which of course Friday's the deadline is coming out. But anyway, Kristen let me go through line by line and explain everything, and I thought she was very graceful, and I'm very appreciative, and I appreciate that she let us say what we needed. And the bottom line is, after you read it all, is that we spent well over $1 million on that school, and we spent hundreds of hours of volunteer time. We had plumbers go in and fix handicapped toilets, and we did a lot of stuff which is on there. So they were very impressed with that, and they said that they would contact the governor's office and ANF, which is who releases the money, and they would see what they could do. Not promising anything. I mean, there's only 2 days left. I don't know if there's enough time, but yesterday, we met down in North Adams, and Senator Mark was there, and he basically said that don't worry about the deadline. He suggested deadlines, but he said we can always file for an extension or something. So he was saying don't panic, that they'll try to do something. So I'm hopeful that maybe we can hear in the near future that we can get that $500,000 for our new roof. The other thing is actually, I'll keep talking about the Springfield. She asked, I said, no, I don't want to overwhelm you. I said, we're a small town with a lot of issues and whatever. And she said, no, she said, I really want to get to know the people of town. I want to know what the issues are for the rural communities. So we talked about the bridge being out at the state park, and also up at the state line, there's a small bridge over a brook going in, and there's holes in it. We took pictures of it, so I showed her that, and she said she had talked to DCR, and I got an email from the head of DCR saying that they are looking into this and that the bridge was postponed because of engineering reasons, which is always postponed, but that Clarksburg is at the top of the list once they get the engineering back. So that was good news. We talked about the difference between a school union and a school district, and maybe a lot of people don't know even at home. A school district is a district that will have a school, and then different towns will be bussed into it. Well, the state is giving 60% or so of the money, I'm not sure the percentage, of reimbursement to towns for their busing, because they want people to regionalize the district. Well, our logistics do not support that. I mean, Florida would be central to our Savoy, Rowe, Monroe, Clarksburg. First of all, the school's not big enough, and still it's a long way to go. So we formed the school union, which we now can have material supplies, superintendents that we can share, but we don't get a cent for busing. And I told her that my suggestion would be we should get the same percentage as the other districts. Now, they're going to get a lot more reimbursement because they go a lot further distance, but we should still get a percentage for our busing because it's a lot of money. So she was open to that. And again, I went on, we talked about the pilot program, and we talked about other things, but I was very happy. They let us, we were there for an hour, and but Lauren, I'm glad she went because they started talking about volunteerism, and Lauren puts in 30 hours a week or more up at the senior center, and she clears the trails around the state park. She's got Adopt a Highway, and they just thought it was wonderful that there's so much volunteerism in the town, which, I look at it, they want to reward that. So I thought that was very good that conversation came up too.
Oh, that's excellent.
I was a little disappointed yesterday, and I'll say why. And Carl, I'm going to say I didn't like that I didn't have a chance to really bring up this letter from John Franzoni. It was dated back a while ago, but it talks about our Chapter 70 funds. When the Senate was deciding how much more funds we could have, they were giving Clarksburg like $10,000, and the surrounding school union towns, they were giving like between 25 and 3,500. And John Franzoni, our superintendent, went to a meeting, and he saw that Adams was getting 743,000. North Adams is getting 1.3 million. And I just ran the numbers and thought about this for a long time. North Adams is 8 times the size of Clarksburg. Well, 8 times 10,000 is $80,000.
Yeah.
They got 1.3 million. Pittsfield is 30 times the size of Clarksburg. They got 6.5 million, which 30 times 100,000 is $300,000. So John was right in sending this email out saying that it is completely unfair how they fund this. And I wanted to bring up yesterday, and again, Carl, I'm not blaming you, it's just Carl spoke first. And
I thought you were going to follow me.
well, I was, but there was, in a meeting like that, Ann Golby was there, who's the rural director to help us out, and she was the speaker. And they were asking questions, but there was Cheshire, Adams, Williamstown, North Adams, Windsor, Clarksburg out there. And they were 15 minutes late, and they had to leave by 2 o'clock, and it was like 1:15. So I knew it was going to be, each town was going to have a little piece. So I didn't want to hog it, and I didn't want to look like we were being rude. But Carl, not knowing this, he brought about the pilot program. And I came down the day before and I told Carl that we didn't need to discuss the pilot program because there's legislation that Senator Mark put in to increase our percentage for the pilot program, which is very good. Carl had a good point that he wanted to point out different ideas that they could use. But I felt that sort of was a done deal and I wanted to get onto this. But I felt after that, I didn't really have a good opportunity. I didn't want to hog the meeting, and I felt I would just send an email. But anyway, I just want to let Carl know that the next time we'll make sure we're on the same page when we go in, because I felt this was more important. And again, you may feel not, but just fine. And that just brings me to the point that I do feel sometimes there's a little bit of disconnect between the board and Carl and maybe the townspeople on there's so much to do. Carl, you're overwhelmed with work to do, and I understand that. But we need, as a group, I think we need to better try to be on the same page. And I think there's a disconnect, partly because of the laws. The open meeting laws really prevent you and I to have a discussion about things. So we have to do it in an open forum, and I understand that. But I think we're going to have to take time at some of these meetings to actually do that. Because, like I said, what Carl may think is top priority, and we're all doing the best interest of the town. So it's a matter of opinion. So it's not like Carl's right, I'm wrong, or vice versa. But sometimes I think that we possibly missed a couple grants in the past or things because our priorities are different. And again, I'm not saying mine are right and people's are wrong, but we need to be on the same page. And sometimes I think there is a disconnect with that. And you may agree or disagree, but that's my viewpoint.
Well, I think that, and I think you realize how much we have going on. We have a lot going on. And, if you think about it, we've got 3 full-time people in this. And everybody's got a full plate. And so, I mean, if it's not MVP or closing out the hazard mitigation grant or the Mass Works grant, and then the slew of issues that pop up just in operating the town. We have the Mass Tech, so we're working on digital equity and broadband initiative. And now we're also going to try to get to net zero for the energy uses, and I have some ideas on that. And the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission does have some funding available to get us to that point. They'll be at our next meeting. So we have a lot of things on our plate, undoubtedly. And I think for 3 people, basically running the town, it's a lot. And I know we're going to drop the ball on some of them. And, then of course, with the weather events, really starting in March with that huge snowstorm, and then dealing with the problems that caused, and then the torrential downpours that we've had of late. And, and I'd like to make, sure that people hear this. The weather and the climate is changing, and people should be aware of that. And water flow and flooding is our biggest issue. It's not, forest fires, although we've had some. It's flooding. And so I think people need to be incredibly mindful of water runoff near their homes and plan accordingly. We do not go house to house and remedy problems that are on private property. It's illegal. In a state of emergency, a tornado or something, that's a different situation. On October 8th of 2005, we had 9 inches of rain in 12 hours, and my house took on 3.5 feet of water. The town didn't come and bail me out.
No.
And so just to be clear, it's not that we're not sympathetic to the people's plight, but they need to be mindful of the streams and riverbeds, and I dug a moat around the back of my house to alleviate the water going into the basement, and it works well. Looks like heck, but it is what it is.
And another thing too, I mean, we realize too, and the town has to, that you are here in town. You gotta run town hall. I mean, look at the things just in the last couple of weeks with the toilet issue overflowing. We've had now leaking from some, and you have to, those are fires that you have to put out.
All the time.
And all the time. And that's why I want to be clear, we do understand that. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page with what the priorities are, because, like I say, and I'll name a couple of them. Obviously, the school roof is a top priority, but I think that we've done all we can do at this point, and I will continue to work on that. The MVP, I will definitely do what I can to work on that. We're going to have a booth at the town field. I'll take care of all that. But there's other things like that. I'm getting a little nervous over the last year when we missed the school lift grant. We're talking about the ADA. We had a meeting in the ADA. We're going to try to come up with a grant this year so that we can get the handicap entranceways, the pavement smooth, and I know that that was last August or whatever, and I know, gosh, it's July already. And I know it's going to be a tough road. We got to get an engineer.
Yeah, well, and I talked with Jim Howe.
Yeah.
We already met. We have another meeting. I just want their blessing, and it should be a fairly easy thing, because we have an estimate for the engineering, and that's what he wants to do.
Okay.
So that's, and so I've got it on my computer. All I got to do is just get the go-ahead, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and if you need help, like I say, if you get to a point where you say, I'm under the gun, I maybe can't help with that grant particular. I would say, Carl, you focus on that. I'll come down and maybe can do something else. Maybe not. I realize you have a lot of knowledge, and I can't necessarily help with everything. But I want to make sure that these grants we don't miss. Also, I looked in the next strap grant, and it's not imperative, but they said it's highly encouraging that by December we have a plan that they can review, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do? So I know about it.
So that's the one stop where you submit, and then they give you some feedback.
Exactly.
It does double your work, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Just so you understand that.
It does, because, and that's why I know these grants take hours and hours to do, and we don't necessarily, after we do them, mean we're going to get them. They're very competitive. But it's just that what I'm worried about, we think the scrap grant, okay, we'll get it next July when the deadline is, or June 30th, whatever.
June
It's like,
2nd, I
well,
think, yeah.
actually, they're asking for December to get started on this, so I want to make sure we don't wait till spring and say, oh, okay, we got off to the scrap grant. We gotta try to make sure we can do the best we can.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to get the sewer, to do the sewer and the southern middle road section for 2 grants.
Yep.
Through the Mass Works program next year. That is the goal, so we're working on that right now.
Okay.
And then we're in our permitting phase right now, so we had, we're putting in the guardrails in that culvert because those are outside of the strap grant.
Yep.
And they wouldn't have fit into the funding in the strap grant, they would have pushed it
Right, they
over.
would have used, right.
So we're
Is that up by Mossert where we're talking about those new
No.
guardrails that were put in?
Yes, and and then the culvert is a rather expensive one. I think it's like $90,000
It's a
for a
big
culvert. For a culvert, it's obscene. That is, the notice of intent is being filed, I believe, very shortly. We have a schedule for that. So we're moving along. I want to talk to Kyle on the flooding issue there and how we can divert the water away from Town Hall in the front.
Yep.
And it's been good
Yeah.
up until these torrential downpours.
We've gotten over 6 inches of rain. Well, it's hard to say because the thunderstorms are so localized.
Yeah.
But I know a friend has a rain gauge, and said we got well over 6 inches of rain so far in June. And a lot of it's come in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And now the middle road, you gave us the schedule last meeting, and it says file for Mass DOT qualifications June 23rd. And then it says on June 29th, we have to publish in the Central Register. It's due Thursday by 4 p.m.
They do all of that.
They do, okay, that's what I wanted to
Foresight does
ask.
all of that.
Okay, that was my question, I didn't know if it's something we had to do.
No,
and I wanted to
no.
make sure. So, we're all on schedule with that. All right, is there, what came up with this too was school lift, we're still waiting for the permit, I understand?
Yes,
All right,
the engineering is done.
and that's through the state, right?
The permit is through the state. It's
Okay.
through the Architectural Access Board.
Okay, I'm wondering if,
And Tom Bona is working on that.
I'll get in touch with Tom. What board is it?
The Architectural Access Board.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if we have to get maybe Senator Mark or Representative Barrett possibly involved if they rush that along, because what I'm worried about, if it takes them 8 weeks to get the materials in, we were gonna have this project all done in August. We're gonna be pushing into the school year, which
Yeah.
we still may be able to do. It may not stop the project, but it's like if we're just waiting for a permit, there's gotta be a way to, come on.
Well,
give us the
but I'll
permit.
tell you, that permit unto itself is a nightmare on top of a nightmare. It's not an easy task, and there's a billion questions that you have to search out the answer for. And
Well, we
that
filed, but yet Tom did that, right? From what I
he's
understand?
doing it.
Okay, I will,
Yeah, I don't think it's been submitted yet. So it's.
I got you, I thought it was already submitted and it was
No.
held up. Okay,
No,
I'm
not
sorry.
that I'm aware of.
No, then I will follow up on that
Okay.
then.
So Bob, just going back to the school roof, the funds for that. And I know you said, Senator Marks mentioned they might be able to do an extension for that. But does that extension have to get approved by Friday also of this week?
I don't know, he didn't say, but he just wanted to relieve my anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I'm obviously in panic mode, it's like, that's $500,000.
Yeah, we can't let. big-
Friday's gonna go by the board.
I don't think it has that deadline. It's part of the budget process and the annual capital proposals. So a lot of capital proposals can go into it. It's up to the governor to release them.
Yeah.
That's the process.
Right.
So going in is not the problem. It's getting it out. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
Right, when it was first put in, Senator Hines said that we got 5 years, that's available, and to do whatever we can to help fix the school, so we show Boston and the governor that we are committed to the school, we have put a lot of money in the school, we put a lot of effort and time in the school. So that's what I read, the 5 years is gonna end Friday, so I didn't know what, but anyway, he more or less was just saying, don't worry about that.
So if the governor's office doesn't approve to release those funds right now, will they give us a reason why and what we need to do so we can get them released in the future? Even if they give us an extension, you know, and they say we can't release them right now, okay, what do we need to do? I guess you could say, you know,
With that,
to get
that
this
happened,
done.
I, again, because I was in panic mode, I also emailed, the district, our district, I'm not sure if it's District 1, District 8, I forget which way to go, but, Tara Jacobs is the governor's council
Yeah.
for our district. So I just emailed her with the sheet of everything she'd done, and she wrote back and she said, very impressive. And she sent an email or reached out to the lieutenant governor, and the lieutenant governor copied a lot of people, but sent an email to me saying she would also look into it. So we got the governor's office looking into it. I don't know what else we can do at this point.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it's discretionary, so it's really up to the governor
yeah.
solely. So it would be good to impress upon her the necessity of it.
Yeah, but so anyway, we're doing the best we can there.
Thank you for your work on that, Bob, you know, and taking the time to go to Springfield and working on this.
It's most helpful.
Well, it's, hopefully it'll be worth it, but it was good at least to make connections too and get other things out there. Thank you. Dan, is there anything else that you want to add to, like any of the grants or prioritizing or anything you?
And, no, I agree with you, you know, there may be some grants that we feel, you know, need, okay, we gotta move this one to the top of the list and get it done with, you know, whether it be a large road grant or, you know, I'm on the same page as you, I think we do need to prioritize, you know, some of the things to get done.
Okay, and we'll talk about them more. And again, it's public knowledge, but we have to talk about it more here because we can't do it outside. And I think sometimes I feel like we leave meetings, I'm not sure, gee, I'm saying things, my opinion.
Yeah.
Gee, does Dan agree with that? Does Jeff agree with that? And, you know, last time we don't know, and I just want to make sure that we're on the
You
same
know, these
page.
big grants are the only way we're gonna be able to get things done here in town, and, you know, we don't have the money to do it, so we gotta rely on these grants, and we can't let them slip by, because
Yeah.
if we let one go by, that's $1 million we won't get back.
But also remember, it's not just writing the grant. That's, even though those are very time consuming, they need to be implemented and it does take time.
It does.
So just to keep that in the back of your mind also, that implementing it is significantly more difficult than actually writing it.
No, I understand that, and whether we need some kind of consultant to help implement them going forward, you know, if we had to spend a little money to,
Yeah,
you know, implement $1 million grant, you know,
Yeah, whatever we have to do, we're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
We can't let the grants go by because we're too busy. And again, I know how busy everybody's, but we'll have to try to come up with a way to make sure everything's done right. But, because, you know, Carl, you mentioned at town meeting, you said there's only two ways to raise money for a small town. You gotta raise taxes or you gotta increase the tax base. And,
No, I said it, you either cut your spending or increase your revenue.
Yeah.
Those are the only two ways.
right, but, and I, again, I disagree with it, or have a difference of opinion, is that, no, the big and number one factor is to get these grants, because.
Well, that's increasing
all
your
money from
revenue.
them. Right, but the grants is the best way to do that. And then the second best way, obviously, is increase the tax rate, but we gotta go after these grants, there's so many out there. And, in my opinion, the state is in good shape right now, they have excess money. So, you know, what happens when the money dries up, the grants are gonna be even more competitive and hard to get, so we'll just keep at it.
you know, I'm trying to like browse online. It's not easy. It's not like there's like a central database to say, okay, here's all the grants available that you can apply for. It seems like they're just, if someone's got to dig to find them, and
You do?
Well, that's it, and then understand, so, you know, and you can start an application and lo and behold, you don't meet the criteria because of some certain thing. And so that sometimes you end up investing some time into a grant, thinking that it's going to work. And I'll give you an example. if you don't have an open space plan, then you don't qualify for certain grants from DCR or DEP. So at some point, we're going to need to do an open space plan.
What exactly is an open space plan?
That's basically, land that's going to be forever protected from anything and be like trails and parks, things like that. And that is probably more applicable to other communities that have less woodland than we do, but you need to have an open space plan. In ours, and I've searched high and low to even, it said on the state's thing that ours is expired. Heck, I haven't even been able to find the one that expired, to see what it's involved with. So that's on the back burner until I can figure out what we're going to do on that.
That's like low priority because there's so many other things going on. But there's definitely a lot that we have to do to get back on board. And we've come a long way in the last year with a lot of things. We settled down town hall and we're getting there. Okay, if there's nothing else, let's go to unfinished business. I did want to mention, I took the ethics course online that we're mandated to take, and it was conflict of interest. And after reading it, I'm having a lot of second thoughts and worry about, Carl, I know you mentioned because we can't get an assessor, is that you were going to try to file for an exemption.
I have drafted and already submitted to the Ethics Commission their view on that. And I know Michael Canellis was also our assessor too. So it may be, and I'm not chomping at the bit to be doing this.
No.
But we can't get anybody.
Right, and I understand that we may be forced to do something like that. The other thing that was worrying me when we're talking about Liz Schreiner, Shiner, and then I know Mike Canales, there were people from out of town. I started thinking that if it was myself, as a selectman, I said, gee, I can file for an exemption, become an assessor. That the perception of me going around to people's houses, I have a lot of relatives in Clarksburg, I have a lot of friends in Clarksburg. I don't know if that would be a good practice for any of us in town
If we
to be
can get
doing
an
that.
assessor, I'm all for it, Bob. It's not like I want that position.
Okay, but I wasn't sure.
And I want to be clear on that. I don't want to be
Okay.
the assessor.
Right.
Where exactly do we have that job posted right now? Is it online anywhere or?
I believe it's on our website, and we had it, and I think it just disappeared a week or two ago on our bulletin board, and I'll put it back up.
Yeah. So maybe we need to try maybe the Berkshire Jobs or.
Well, we did that, but that's $195 a month, and again, where is the money going to come from? Where is it's not cheap to advertise.
I understand. We can't not spend a little money because we need to find someone now. I'm just saying, I don't think, honestly, just putting it up on the bulletin board or the web, I don't think if there's someone looking for an assessor position, say from a surrounding area where they live, they're not looking on our website to see if there's a position. They're looking at Berkshire Jobs or.
I sent letters to area communities. I went on their website, who's doing their assessing. I went as far as Shelburne Falls, which is 24 miles away.
Right.
I've tried.
Right.
No, I'm not saying you haven't tried. That's not what I'm saying. I was over this weekend. I was on, online. I was trying to see if there's a database of licensed assessors to see if we can start looking at and reaching out to people. But I striked out. I couldn't find a data.
And that's it. And in order to be an
that.
assessor, you have to be certified. You have to have that certification.
Right, and I wonder if other towns, I know you've checked into some of this too, but are there other towns like Cheshire or Williamstown that they have part-time assessors that could take on another town?
Williamstown has two, and because of Williams College, they're quite busy.
Okay.
And they don't, we're small potatoes.
Well, we are, but there's Florida, there's Savoy.
Yep, I've contacted Florida.
If there's anybody that we could share, I really think it's important we try to get an assessor.
I agree.
And the other thing, part of that is with reevaluation, in my opinion, and again, you both may disagree, but I think it needs to be somebody from outside of Clarksburg doing it. Like I said, otherwise you're gonna have the perception that there's gonna be favoritism, there's gonna be people complaining, oh, this one doesn't like me, they're gonna, assess me higher. Oh, I'm a neighbor to this one. If that's, I don't know how much it is to hire a firm to do reevaluation.
I went at one of the conferences that we were at, and I did talk at length with the lady from Pittsfield, which is what they did. They were not happy with the outcome at all. And so if you have a firm that comes in, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, type of a thing,
Yeah,
and they come in and go out and they're not capturing what they need to capture, then it's going to cost the town a lot of money over the next assessing cycle. So, I mean, ideally, if you had somebody who was a real estate broker who could get certified, and it's 40 hours, and it's usually down at UMass, and you do have to take a test. But, once you have that certification, then, you can do it. I mean, we can try again, and I'll see if I can scrape some money somewhere together to do more advertising. But
yeah,
understand we're right up against the
right.
levy limit.
Yeah, and this is very important, we need to reevaluate. Also now, I'm not sure because I know we talked last time and we were all sort of for Rochelle being like an assistant and helping getting trained for that. And I'm for that because again, one advantage Rochelle has is she doesn't live in town.
Yeah.
So I think that's helpful because I think you'd have somebody neutral. I didn't know if the conflict of interest law, the way I read it, it would apply to her also.
Well, it depends on if it's in, I think this is where the kicker will be, is it in their job description?
Okay.
So is it a simple thing of editing the job description or not? And so I have to wait until the
But
Ethics Commission
if that's something
responds.
that Rochelle is interested and wants to do, again, my opinion would be,
I mean, it would
as long
seem,
as it's legal or, and
right,
everything.
and it would seem to me, I mean, good God, how many hats are we already wearing, each one of us? And so you look at that and you say, well, in a small community such as ours, if you don't wear multiple hats, you ain't gonna get nothing done.
Right. Yeah, and I
And
know.
that's the sad reality.
Yeah, and I read, it took me like an hour and a half to do the course. Last times you flip through things, and I said, no, I really want to pay attention.
Yeah.
And I know there are exemptions or leniency to towns that are under like 10,000 population, 5,000 population, and we're under 2,000 population.
Heck yeah.
So it's possible, but I just wanted to make sure that whatever you
And I
want to do
think-
is fine.
And I think the tripping point, if you will, is whether you're paid or not.
Mm-hmm.
So up to this point, I haven't been.
Right.
And understanding that if we're going to engage with Rochelle doing more work, we are going to use part of the salary for that too. And we're not there yet. We're not
Okay.
there with a decision yet. And our reval, we still have 2.5 years to do it. So it's not like it has to be done this fiscal year. There's a lot of work to be done.
There
I
is.
do understand that.
I do. I was, like I said, I did go to UMass back in the 90s for the course, and I became assessor for 2 years, and then I didn't.
Really? So then you're certified?
Well, it's funny, because I said, I know I got something, I can't find anything where I got
But
it.
it's in their database.
I was, I was down there, but it would be the same thing. I wouldn't mind helping out again, but as a selectman, I don't feel I have a right to go check people's houses because the perception, like I say, I know I can be fair, but the perception
but you
is,
could be on the board
he
of
favored this one, he
assessors.
didn't favor this one.
Because we have an opening there.
Yeah, well, it's possible, but anyway, I do think that we really want to go down the road of trying to find an assessor that doesn't live in town that could do this, and Dan, you
I
agree?
agree, yeah. I'm definitely with you on that one.
All right, is there any other unfinished business you can think of? Dan?
Just going back to that, Carl, do you know of anywhere that might have a list of certified assessors?
The only place I would think, and that's how I got our building inspector, is that there is a board of licensure and registration on mass.gov. So you could go there and see if there's anybody within a 20-mile radius,
Yeah.
which I suspect there's not going to be.
Okay, anything else, Dan?
Nothing that comes to mind at the moment.
All right, the next thing is 225th Anniversary Committee. We're on track. We're having our next meeting July 12th. I really don't have any update from the last meeting, but we're working on fundraising, and we got a good committee together. We're all taking different tasks, so it's going to be September 9th, rain or shine, and hopefully it'll be successful. And I think by the next meeting, I'll have more information. Okay, Carl, review survey bids. Is that?
So this is our second round, and it's still too high. So we have a bid, we have $20,000 grant to pay for this. So I am going to go through our budget to see if there's any money, although I doubt it. So the one from Huntley and Associates came in at this is a low one, $24,160. So we're short $4,160. The one that came in from Foresight Land Services came in at $26,500. And the one that came in from BEK was $46,400. So, I'm going to look through before I reject them all. I would like to get this done, like, in my lifetime, but that's where they are.
Okay.
So we got 3 bids, and they're all over what we have to spend.
Now, I don't know if this is something you can do or not. Can you reach out and talk to, say, like, the couple lower ones, like,
You have to give each one the same equal opportunity.
yeah, so reach out to all of them and ask, what can we do to help bring this in under budget, and then do we have to go back out to bid with it, kind of maybe whether it's cutting out a small piece of the criteria, and then see what we can, say, listen, like, none of these are gonna work for us, but is there anything you recommend that we can cut out to save some money, or bring this in under 20,000? I mean, I don't.
I'm always very leery about talking to the bidders because, procurement is such where there is the potential for graft and corruption.
Yeah.
And so they do look at that. I guess that my thoughts would be that we're going to need to rebid it or change the scope, or both.
Yeah.
So are we willing to maybe say, okay, instead of doing the whole 88 acres, do half of it? Or I'm not sure, and I'm going to have to think upon that. How do we change the scope of it? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Or if there's some money that I can find through another grant that would allow for the balance payment, if you will. I'm not sure, so I'm going to have to think on that.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing I can think of.
All right. We'll adjourn the meeting at 2:15. All in favor? Aye.